here I am for the real reason why I've come to Osaka, and then leave tomorrow for Korea. I'm going to spend the whole day here at Universal Studios Japan. I'm also starting to realize that it's completely unrealistic to think that if you go to amusement parks in Asia in the wintertime, that you're going to get days. As you can see behind me, there are plenty of people that have a day off this Tuesday afternoon, the second week of January. So it is what it is. Hopefully there are good fast pass options to get me on some decent amount of rides today. Just don't feel this being my last big park. I don't feel like I want to be too competitive getting into things, but obviously they have a very elaborate Harry Potter world, which I'm seeing for the first time now. So let's give you a couple shots of what you see when you come in. I actually haven't been to a Universal Park in over 20 years. Or it's hard to believe. Actually, it's been 19 years. It was the year 2000. February 2000, I went to Islands of Adventure. I actually haven't been to Universal Studios Florida in over almost 30 years. They had the old version of King Kong there, among other rides like Back to the Future had just come out, so it's been quite a long time since I've had a Universal experience. This park is a little bit more heavy into their roller coasters than other Universal parks, which is really the reason why I'm here. Obviously I want the experiences of the dark rides as well, which I will be taking in, but I'm here for what is really a stunning entrance to this park. It was 7,900 yen, which is technically the most expensive ticket of all the parks that I visited, all three Disneys, etc. The entrance hall here is very similar to Main Street USA. It's definitely got that Disney feel to it. It's got the canopy as well, which seems to be very popular, i.e. with Tokyo Disneyland. Also found it's very reminiscent actually of Phantasialand, oddly enough, just with the way the Berlin section is covered as well, has that sort of feel. But so far, it looks pretty impressive. I don't really know where I'm going, so I'm going to sort of plan out my day here first before I get down to business. They do have a fast pass option that is available inside the park, so I'm going to judge the lines first and also see whether or not we have a single rider option, and then I can go from there. So hopefully a nice successful day here at the last big park on this trip, Universal Studios Japan. Okay, so after a whopping 1,200 and 200 yen, I have my express pass. I keep losing the thing, so that's twice now that I've actually dropped it, but I'm only doing that because I'm trying to do this vlog here before I get on the ride. So the other disadvantage of this, much like my experience at Ocean Park, you only get one ride on each attraction. I got the highest tier, which is 7 attractions, so there's an automatic 4 that you get. Then there's also a choice between 2 rides for the last 3 that you have. So 4 automatically, Flight of the Hippogriff, the Flying Dinosaur, the Minion ride, and I'm not sure what the third one was. I believe it's the other Harry Potter attraction. In addition to that, you also you got set times you have to be at these rides, which are indicated on the ticket, which is cool. But at the end of the day, this is already $250 that I've spent at this park Canadian, so like $220, $210 American just to get this all in. the benefit of this is that I'm actually going to be able to take in some of the shows and basically every single one of the attractions that I want to do in the park today, plus some bonus stuff as well. So not cheap, but this is the last big park that I'm going to, so I may not be back here for many, many, many years. So might as well make it worth my while and get this thing organized properly. So here we go. We're gonna start our not so cheap day at Universal Osaka. So just came out. It was a 15-minute wait, as I said, listed, but it was a straight walk-on for Amazing Spider-Man. Now I've done this version in Islands of Adventure the year it came out, and I wasn't that impressed by it, to be honest with you. Now this version, I don't know if it's the exact same technology that they've used, but I think it's been tweaked a little bit better because it was quite an impressive experience, to be honest. I'm very happy with it. I can't wait to get on it again because it was very immersive. I'm not too big into 3D. 3D tends to be a little bit too much on my eyesight, but it's hard to sort of visualize things. But the amount of practical sets mixed in with the video screens, it worked really well. I'm actually really happy with that ride. It was a very good start to the day. So yeah, great success. Amazing Spider-Man. Big thumbs up. Despite the park being a bit slowish, they are advertising a 40-minute wait for this ride, the Flying Dinosaur, which was supposed to let you today. Unfortunately, after 11 parks, I'm just not in the mood to wait 40 minutes because they've closed off the single rider line. Guys, also kind of gave me a weird look when I said I was here on my own, so I don't know, maybe they just don't have that here that often. It's a park that's not exactly easy to get to for people that are traveling from all over, so yeah, I'm going to go get a fast pass. I'm just not into the mood for this today, so yeah, they're very patient about waiting in lines here in Japan, and I, unfortunately, after over nearly a dozen parks, I'm not patient anymore, so I'm gonna get a fast pass, gonna get some rides in, and get on with it. So yeah, if you're coming here, be prepared for the single rider option to not be available. It's 40 minutes right now, and it's just getting on to 11 o'clock, so I'm assuming that this lineup is going to be probably around an hour later on in the day, even with the park being not that busy. So yeah, that's what you're going to be dealing with when you come here to Japan. I've been on the version at Islands Adventure of this ride. I know it's just being revamped in the other two parks and updated, so this is probably one of the last places that you're going to be able to get the original experiences of the one currently in California still. So yeah, it should be kind of cool, as is the standard at every park. Poncho's got to go on. I don't really think you're going to get that wet on the ride. It should be fine. It's actually 11 degrees in Osaka today, January 8th, so pretty good weather. Pretty much I'll dry up by the time that I get on to my next ride. Alright, so Jurassic Park the ride is done. It's amazing how they can contain those animals just in the pen area that they have here. I'm really kind of astounded. They look a little tired, so maybe it's because they're getting older and they're a little bit more out of shape and that, but T-Rex seems to be doing alright. Yeah, so there's a couple things in there I think weren't working. Like the raptor paddock, I believe, dropped originally above the boat, but that wasn't happening and there was no shaking or anything like that. But the first half of the ride, some of the mechanics were a little wishy-washy, but the second half going into the drop building was quite effective. And really just an overall experience, it's really a good ride. The drop is one of the best flume drops that I know of. Now, that being said, in Shanghai Disney, they have a variation of this with their Rapids ride, which is probably the best I've probably experienced, period, of this sort of ride. So, yeah, definitely a classic, definitely worth trying still while it's in its current incarnation. I think that maybe it would be an interesting thing if they actually did use some video screens and that for this ride, sort of have a refreshing take on the overall experience, which I'm sure Universal have already thought out. So I'm looking forward to the future of the ride, but overall it's a great little ride to take in. This park is not insanely large, so I've managed to, in a little over an hour, do a loop in two of the bigger attractions, with the exception of Harry Potter's world, which I'm off to now because my fast passes for Flight of the Hippogriff and the Mysterious Journey, Magical Journey. I don't want to say magical because that's definitely Disney. Yet again, I had a shorter sleep than I would like, so the theme of this entire trip has been 4 to 5 hour sleeps, 6 hour sleeps like I got last night, and me tripping over words and forgetting details about the rides. But unfortunately, I just haven't had the time to research things before I've come in, because this is really a haywire type of trip, but so far it's on schedule, so that's all that really matters. So we're off to Harry Potter World, where we're going to take in the attractions there. Now, normally in a busier day, very nice staff here. Normally this area of the park, you actually have to get a pass just to get into it on busier days, because they do manage the crowd that goes in, which is understandable, this being Japan. A lot less people dressed up at Universal than, say, the Disney parks that I've been to, but that is understandable. There was actually 5 guys behind me there. They were dressed in Jurassic Park fatigues, which I really liked. That was really cool. Now, yeah, so if you're coming here, especially on a weekend, I would imagine that in the summertime, the Harry Potter World, you're going to have to get your admission pass as soon as you get into the park. So that's something to bear in mind, because it's you wouldn't want to come here and be disappointed and not actually even get into that land. It's the only place that I've heard of that they actually manage admissions to a section of the park. And it's a pretty significant section too, so at the end of the day, make sure you're not disappointed. So yeah, we have Jaws here behind me. We're on our way. I believe this is the way. I don't even actually know, so we'll find out. Because these stones are... I will admit, I'm not that familiar with Harry Potter, anything. I don't know, I just not really... was never really into it. Never read any of the books. It just sort of passed me by. I'm obviously still a kid at heart, but this particular world or the Harry Potter situation, maybe my mind will change when I actually visit this park, because yeah, I haven't been really convinced I haven't been very convinced about the efforts that have been put into creating these worlds, especially because one of my favorite coasters ever, Dueling Dragons at Islands of Adventure in Florida, was completely dismantled and scrapped for the new Harry Potter coaster that's going in there this year. So I don't know, you got a lot to live up to, Universal, when it comes to that, because that was one of the best attractions roller coaster wise that I'd ever ridden. I just don't understand why they took it down. I don't even know why they didn't. It would have been more sensible to sell it to another park or to bring it to another Universal park, but for some reason they didn't do that. So yeah, very disappointed with that. Okay. So yeah, I think we are on our way, because this certainly looks like the deal. Impressive in scope, in detail, and the sight lines. Are really impressive, because as you walk in, you don't even know where you came from. You can't see the other roller coasters. You can't see the massive highway or bridge that's behind us as well. And we're serving beer in mugs, so definitely gonna have one of those after my 2 attractions. It's a 5-minute wait for the Hogwarts Castle walk behind me. So we're gonna do that first before I do Forbidden Journey, which looks like we have lots of time. Flight of Hippogriff is on a 20-minute wait, so we'll get onto that fast, so I'll at least be able to get 2 rides on it easily, possibly 3. Okay, so after a rather frustrating second trip with my Fast Pass onto the Forbidden Journey, which this actually is, I didn't really know if there's no signage, but I guess you're supposed to presume that. Yeah, the situation with the Fast Pass, I'd done my first ride because it's basically a walk-on, so I went back and I used my Fast Pass for my second trip, which I didn't even need to use, to be honest with you, because it is a walk-on right now. Whether or not this is going to be a wise decision, we shall see at the end of the day, but so far it's not looking good. But that's besides the point. You get a card when you come into the locker area. Essentially, you have to take that card, because that's some sort of ticket that says to the guy taking the card out that you've put your stuff away. But I had my stuff already in a locker from the first trip. I went around, cycled around, went back in, didn't get a card, mass confusion, translated everything for them to try to get them to understand what was going on. did not work. Had to keep going around in circles. Fortunately, the Fast Pass people understood what was going on, so they just shuffled me through. I took a card and then got on the ride as I was supposed to. So overall, let's talk about the ride. Very impressive technology, really, really immersive sets. Unbelievable, to be honest with you. This is going to be a tight race to see whether or not this is my favorite dark ride of all the ones that I've done versus Pirates of the Caribbean in Shanghai. I'm going to have to think about it a little bit, but it's definitely neck and neck. Now, this is obviously probably the same version that exists in Florida at Universal Studios, so it's no surprises to anyone as far as what's going on in the ride itself. If you've been on that ride, then you know what to expect when it comes to this ride. I haven't ridden that ride, so I can't make a comparison. Obviously, everything is in Japanese. I am not a Scooby what's going on as far as the story is concerned, and I'm also not too familiar with the Harry Potter world, so what is happening, I'm not really sure, but you can basically follow along, and it's quite an experience to be said. It's unbelievable, to be honest with you. I've never had a ride system like that before on a robo-arm type of technology that scrolls through the scenes. So quite impressive, to be honest with you. The ride itself, amazing. Some of the staff, a little confused, but you know, it is what it is. That's what you get when you are dealing with translation issues. So yeah, I don't know whether or not the Fast Pass is something that you need for this park on a day like I am here today. So we shall see as the day goes through. But as we get back to Jurassic Park, we'll find out. Number 38 on the tour is Flight of the Hippogriff, the Harry Potter coaster themed here at Universal Studios Japan. So it's a bit anticlimactic in the sense that I wanted to try something a little bit more intense for my first coaster here, but at the same time, I'm at least getting this one out of the way. I'm not so sure I'll do it twice. I got my Fast Pass. It is a 35-minute wait right now, so I am going to be taking advantage of that for sure. I don't expect it to be that long of a wait later on in the day, but yeah, Flight of the Hippogriff. Here we go. Already a big fan of the staff for this ride. Very nice, accommodating, and welcoming. So yeah, we're just going to skip by this 35-minute line here. Straight on to the family coaster. Okay, so I have my beer here at Hogwarts. Souvenir mug. Don't think it says Japan, which is the only thing that's a bit of a disadvantage here. So, let's see. It does say Japan, but you gotta look for it because it says it on the bottom of the mug. So that's alright, but at least I got a souvenir. 1,300 yen. Normal beer will cost you $7.50 minimum at this pub, but the pub is actually fantastic looking. It looks like in order to sit down, you need to get yourself a meal, which is fine. I might actually come back here. I haven't explored the meal options, but I don't know what it is with churros, but there's churros everywhere in Asia, and I'm just not feeling churros. But they'll line up forever for churros. Meanwhile, there's quite the amount of people here enjoying a beer next to the butterbeer station. So, butterbeer, however, is non-alcoholic, so I need a little bit of alcohol to keep myself together amongst these crowds in Japan, because it's really a me-first attitude. I'm very much a courtesy-forward type of person. I will give people space to do their thing, and I will wait my turn. That doesn't happen here. You gotta keep with the flow. If you're gonna get anywhere in a park like this, you gotta basically bounce your way through and get into the action, and there's no such thing as personal space, as I've expressed many times before, so that's fine. A nice little Suntory Black Premium Malts will sort me out. Considering the stigma attached to getting a beer in an amusement park or theme park at home, it's kind of refreshing to be in a place like Japan where you can just enjoy a pint in the middle of the square and everyone basically embraces it for what it is. Just making sure that I didn't leave anything on the step that I left there, but yeah, we're good. Because it is a full-size pint. It was $15.50 for the commemorative mug and the beer inside, which, to be honest with you, is pretty decent of a price, all things considered. So, yeah, as I probably will come back to this area just for the pub itself, I would say that I'm pretty impressed with the Harry Potter experience so far. I feel like it's very competitive, or that there's warring factions in Universal Studios Japan, so you gotta pick your battles. You're either a Harry Potter fan and you come in full dress to go to Harry Potter Land or Hogwarts, or you are a Minions person and you go to the Minions section and you represent Minions for what you for love. But, yeah, I don't know. It's very unique in the sense that they're very uninhibited about what they love here, so they'll dress up and they'll basically celebrate it for what it is. Lots of people dressed up for Harry Potter Land, to be honest with you. I haven't captured much of it so far, but I'm going to try to later. But you can kind of see what's going on. It's maybe it's just variations on their general schooling outfits, but there are some people here that are in some impressive gear. And it being a slower day, it's not a very special day. It's very, hey, as you see, they're very friendly here. So, yeah. Maybe next time I come here, I will be in some garb. Who knows? Or maybe not. Number 38 is Hollywood Dream, the ride. Now, there's two versions of this. There's a forwards and a backwards version. I'm not really keen on backwards rides, to be honest with you. I don't really think it adds much to the experience. This being my first time on this coaster, I'm definitely going to do the forwards version to start. It is a B&M mega coaster, but it only has a 141-foot drop, so it's pretty tame by today's standards as far as that is concerned. But it does have onboard music, which is one of the highlights of the ride, so I'm interested to see how that will work in the overall experience itself. The frontwards portion is actually marked as 30 minutes waiting time. Who knows how accurate that is? And the backwards portion is now 70 minutes, whereas when I started this bit, it was actually 90. So I don't know, I might actually do the backwards version if I can use my fast pass. If I'm going to get any value out of it today, this is probably the one spot where I might do that. So instead of waiting over an hour for the backwards version and then easily coming back and waiting maybe 20 minutes to get a ride on the forwards portion, I think that makes the most sense. So Hollywood Dream, the ride, here we go. This ride was inspired another ride at Universal Florida with its onboard speaker system, so I don't know really what to expect. There's no inversions. It seems like a pretty tame layout, to be honest with you, but it is a B&M, so being a B&M, really we should only expect the best. So yeah, let's give this a try. I've been on many B&Ms. Who knows where this is going to end up in the list. Hollywood Dream. Right. Gotta niggle a little bit here because it seems a bit ridiculous for the price point that this express pass or option that I have. It doesn't include the backwards version of Hollywood Dream, which is really the only thing with the massive queue today. So, you know, like we're talking value, $150 for 7 rides, of which 3 coasters you don't even get to choose where you sit. think that's kind of questionable. I definitely should have thought. I did think a lot into it when I was buying the pass, but yeah, the fact that there's these small little details that they don't cover that prevent you from actually enjoying the park to its full potential when you pay the price that you pay seems a little bit ridiculous to me, but you know, it is what it is. It's one ride. I will get in the backwards version probably at the end of tonight anyway. Overrated as I'm sure it is, but in the meantime, you know, you take in the sights. Just a brief food aside, this combination cost me 1920 yen, which works out to about $22 Canadian, which, you know, 18 bucks American. To be perfectly honest, considering my Carowinds experience earlier this year, or late last year, it's hard to believe that we're in a whole new year because I've been traveling during the interim period, but this would have cost me probably like $40, and you wouldn't have been able to find a beer at the park. So the food is definitely a good value here at Universal. So while it does cost a lot for, say, the Fast Pass option, the food options in that are pretty reasonably priced for theme park food. So yeah, I'm going to dig into that, and I'll definitely enjoy that. It's offsetting some of the curmudgeonliness of the other expenses associated with this park. I believe the only Jaws attraction left in the Universal family. I've never been on this before, so I'm looking forward to it. Alright, so just finished Jaws the ride, which is a walk-on for single riders, which is refreshing. I've got a fast pass for this, but I can use it for the other attraction, which I believe is Terminator. Yeah, it's kind of cool little setup, to be honest with you. I think this is way more complex than the one that Universal Florida had. Essentially, there are some buildings and set pieces that they go through leading to the final confrontation with the shark. Anticlimactic at the end, to be honest with you. If you are on the ride, sit on the left side, so that way you get a bit more of the shark action. Right side, you kind of can't see what's going on. No pictures or video allowed, unfortunately, so I wasn't able to get any footage of what goes on during the ride. But for what it is, really kind of a cool ride. Definitely enjoyed it. Not one of the premier attractions here, but everyone here seems to still be really into it, as it's got a 25-minute wait still. So, yeah, Jaws. Just got off a Flying Dinosaur for the first ride. I wish I could have shot that. So yeah, I just got off Flying Dinosaur for what was a very funny ride and a very funny train. That was very fun because the people in front of me, their shoes popped right off after the first drop. And now I've been on Tatsu, which is pretty much the king of these coasters as far as stats goes. I believe there's a couple couple other close to what Tatsu does. The layout of this coaster, to be honest with you, packs a perfect punch. It's pretty amazing. After the first drop, you go into this reverse Immelman and then straight out into the pretzel dive loop, which is pretty intense, to be honest with you. And it goes into a tunnel at the bottom of it. I really impressed with this coaster. It was really a good ride. Definitely a highlight of the park. Not sure Hollywood Dream is going to capture what this experience was all about, because that was pretty fun. Yeah, make sure that you take your shoes off on this ride, because you might end up with having to buy some Universal Crocs, and nobody really wants that, do they? So that's it. 3 rides in a row on the Flying Dinosaur. And to be honest, that was one of the highlights of my entire parks up until this point. Coaster number 39, definitely in the top 3 as I go through things over time when I get back. But yeah, that was one of the more enjoyable experiences I've had. Great crew. In fact, everybody in this park has been amazing. That little snafu at Harry Potter has to be excused, because it is what it is. It's just miscommunication. Backdraft is on a 20-minute wait, so I'm going to wait until later to go on that, because it is a dark ride anyway, or a dark experience. I've got my fast pass for Minions, but again, the Flying Dinosaur, the drop is quite impressive over the whole Jurassic World area or Jurassic Park area, but it's really that inline twist and then dive into a reverse Immelman that really is so intense, and it's followed up with a pretzel loop. It's just like, it really rattles you, but not in a way that it's really shakes you to the bone, to be honest with you, getting through those 2 elements. I'm surprised that they put them back to back on that coaster. Now I'm going to do my Minion experience now, obligatory wise. I'm sure it's one of the best things that the park has to offer, but yeah, Minion Mayhem is coming up here. Not a huge fan of cartoons, but I do rate Despicable Me. I find it very funny and very amusing as a adult humor and children's humor balance of a cartoon. So I'm looking forward to this. It should be quite fun. I enjoy the characters. I actually know the film, so I'll be able to follow along pretty well. So we'll see what this is all about. It's my last exclusive Fast Pass option for the day, and it's on a 40-minute wait. So when it comes down to the value situation, we're getting up there. It's looking a little bit better. Our Minion Mayhem, pretty sedate or stated stationary, colorful, but nothing really extravagant about it, to be honest. I will say that the queue lines in this park that they're set up for huge crowds, so they do get some massive crowds during the summertime. That's thankfully not the case today, but you know, this would be expected.
Shokun, ここに来たのは俺の手下になりたいからやな。いつもやったら俺が新人を一人ずつ面接するんやけど、今日はとてつもないでっかいことをしとんねん。せやから手短に済ますわ。俺はブルー。あんた名前は？
Well, that's Minion Mayhem done, and all I really gotta say is it's Back to the Future the ride, isn't it? Or Simpsons the ride. Same thing. Different movie. It was fun for what it was, but it's odd that it's a premium attraction here. Consider that it's considered a secondary attraction in most of the other Universal parks, so it is what it is. It's all right. Good for the kids, but if you're pressed for time, I would give it a pass. Hollywood Dream ride is now advertised as 70 minutes and 90 minutes backwards. I'm not really sure what's going on, considering all the other rides are basically at a reasonable 35-minute maximum wait. So if there's something I'm missing, the cars are lit up this time of year, so maybe it's that. But it's time to find out what this is all about. It's that fast pass. Yeah, it's looking like no joke. They're all lined up for this ride. I don't get it. Must be missing something. About to find out. Part of the feature of this ride is you get to choose what you get to listen to as part of the experience. I'm looking at what we have on offer and what can I have and not listen to it. The dream is over. Instead, we are left with a rather tepid experience, and I also have to question whether or not that was 141 feet on that drop. It felt more like the drop to the flight of the Hippogriff. I don't know what to say. That is probably one of the tamest B&Ms I've ever been on. Regardless of that, I'm back in the line for Hollywood Dream. I'm going to give it another ride because the single rider line is advertised at a half an hour, but it's more like probably 15 minutes. So I'll get at least 3 rides in, and then we'll move on to some other quicker attractions. And we'll see the people in Osaka. Some of them are great, some of them are fantastic. The two in front of me are not so great at all. They just bud right ahead of you. These guys right here. Second thought, we're out of here. It's just not worth it. It's like a dalliance with someone that you've always been interested in, like Taylor Swift maybe. But thankfully on my ride it didn't play Shake. And then ending up finding out that that person is no good in bed. Hollywood Dream is a disappointment. It's not even it's just not worth it. I'm out of here. I'm going to go back to Harry Potter and try some other stuff instead of wasting my time trying to get on this ride. I don't understand why the wait is so long for it. They're really into some kitschy stuff. A glittering car and music is good enough for people to wait over an hour for a ride on this ride. So, to be honest with you, Bandit at Yomiuri-land packs way more of a punch, and it's 3 times the age that this coaster is. They paid $50 million for this ride, and I don't get it. It doesn't have anything special about it. One ride is enough for me. Back in the pub in the Harry Potter world, because to be honest with you, it's one of the best things about this park if you're looking for that kind of thing. I actually got a seat inside of it now because I have a meal. I got my fish and chips. Not too shabby. 2,500 yen for this combo, so a lot more pricey than the French orangerie that I was at earlier. But for the atmosphere, it is what it is. I'm going to try to also get a pint at the little side pub that they have here before it closes. Just because, why not? Going back to Osaka. Okay, so I just did Forbidden Journey for the 3rd time. As you can see, the castle behind me, which is kind of a fluke. I didn't know that was happening today, or at least that illumination would be on offer. It's quite impressive, but these people are all lined up just to get a shot of that. Imagine that there's a show later of some sort, but it's not. I'm not here for the show. I'm going to try to get to 3 more attractions before I'm done today. Let's say the town does come, Hogwarts does come alive at night. There are a lot of people in dress for Harry Potter today, so obviously they're here for the show, so they're all going to end up over here. So I'm headed to the opposite end of the park, but I just have to sum up that now is my favorite dark ride. Just the technology, the way it's the way the screens turn and give each individual car its own dome screen experience. Like, I just don't. There's a lot going on in the background here, but I can't really. I didn't know what to expect from that ride, and I was just completely blown away. Every single time I've ridden it, I've had different things, smaller details that I've noticed. And it's so dark. Like, I love the fact that it's really unrelenting and its intensity in the sense of, like, it's supposed to be a family ride, but it's pretty scary, to be honest with you, throughout. So I'm thoroughly impressed. Sorry, Pirates of the Caribbean. Bye. Sorry, Pirates of the Caribbean. You're now number 2 in Shanghai. Harry Potter. Forbidden Journey. I was supposed to go to the pub and see if I could get a pint there too, but there are plenty of pubs available. If I come back to Universal Studios Japan, it may just be for this Harry Potter experience, which is very weird. I might just end up reading a book now, because yeah, I'm pretty damn impressed. So as presumed, the park is pretty much emptying out in the back now. Everybody's heading back to Harry Potter. They're closing off the area now for the show. It's probably going to be a big fireworks display. I'll see it from wherever I am in the park, but I've seen plenty of these projection mapping shows now that it's not really necessary for me to check out another one, really. I'll enjoy the fireworks, but I don't really need to be in that crowd. I'd rather ride the rides while there's nobody riding them, so we're off to the Flying Dinosaur. Would be trip number 4 on this ride, which is definitely the highlight of the park for me. Otherwise, Harry Potter is probably tied, to be honest. I shouldn't say that, because it is quite a unique experience on its own right. But yeah, while we're here, might as well get another ride in. I'm also going to try to get Spider-Man in and Backdraft in 45 minutes. Don't like my chances, but hell, let's go for it. Sadly, like my friend, the day in Universal Japan is done. It's had highs, it's had lows. It hasn't been perfect, but it's been more successful than most of the parks that I've actually traveled to. 5 rides on the Flying Dinosaur, which is my peak coaster of the park and one of my favorites of the trip overall. It's not a bad haul, and it's the most rides I've gotten on any coaster that I've tried to in any of these trips. This being my last major park, I have to sum up some things about the vlogs overall, and really I haven't even touched the surface of the amount of fatigue and stress in getting to each place has been, and especially in the time frame that I allotted. I've never done this before. I used to work in television, and I did a little bit of dalliance with film, and this was something that after 20 years of not really being involved in coastering and theme parks and kind of taking a huge hiatus for what I guess could be considered adult life, something sprung into me, and I already name dropped the people that I needed to as far as sort of motivating me to get something like this put together. The only reason I'm really doing it is because I don't know of anyone that's really gone on a trip quite like this, and for the amount that I'm taking in, I'm a little disappointed in the fact that some of the closures of coasters along the way have resulted in me getting far less than I thought I would overall. But I can't say that I'm really disappointed by the total tally of parks and coasters that I've taken in. So far, we've only missed one, which was Tobu Zoo in Tokyo, which is fine because Tokyo is the kind of city that you know you're going to come back to anyway, and those coasters will be there waiting for me when I come back. While this park did have one coaster, Space Encounter, that I missed, unfortunately it's closed because it's being rethemed to a Japanese animated series that opens next week, which is fine. I've got a lot of indoor coasters during this trip. I don't think it's going to touch Vogel Rock, which has been one of the biggest surprises. This isn't a sum up because I still have Korea to come, but the parks in Korea are a little bit questionable as far as what's going to be open, considering it's going to be even colder there than it is, say, here in Japan or in China. As per Beijing being Happy Valley, the first park that I didn't actually get to get into at all, despite it being open, but no coasters were available. So it was a great success. To be honest, I'm leaving Universal a lot happier than I expected to be. I'm a little underwhelmed, obviously, with Hollywood Dream. It's still running right now because they closed it an hour early just to get through the queues. I feel that this park doesn't really need to up the ante that much as far as what they offer, considering that it's going to be busy, it seems, all the time. There's obviously some questionable situations when it comes to the Fast Pass. They did sell out of the Fast Pass allotment for today, which is a little bit unusual to me as well, because I didn't end up using one of my Fast Pass, or two of my Fast Pass credits. So I kind of, once again, you live and you learn, trial and error. And that's really for you guys to sort of plan out your experience here at, say, Universal Osaka. Now I have to get one small bit of merchandise before I leave, because finally I found a park that had something that was up my alley and I was interested in. So while I get vlog bombed in the background, we can take a view of the wonderfully illuminated Hollywood Dream. Not much of a dream of a coaster, but certainly a great ride when it comes to its illumination. It still has nothing on Bandit. I feel it wants to be Bandit, but it's not Bandit. Bandit, even though it's a much cheaper, even though the ride's illuminations are not that great compared to what you get on Hollywood Dream, that they're all built in, it is a way better ride than what Hollywood Dream the ride is. So that's my 2 cents. Is it the worst B&M I've ever been on? Probably not. But is it the showpiece of this park? It certainly is not either. So I'm going to sign off here from Universal Studios Japan. I'm starting to get my flow back. Like I said, I'm not an expert at this. Hopefully as we go and we get to Park 50, then I will be. But until then, I'm going to sign off and see you in Korea.